Today we're going to be talking about Nazism and the rise of Hitler. Chapter 3 History, Class 9. Now, before we go into the chapter, let's talk about Germany for a while. Germany is a country that is found in Western Europe. Its capital city is Berlin. It has amazing cars, bread, music, sausages, and castles, of course. It has a very good economy and also has breathtaking sceneries of nature. It's called Deutschland, and Deutsch is spoken over there. Now, let's talk about Germany and its involvement in the First World War and the birth of the Weimar Republic. Now, Germany, as you can see in this picture, this is a German empire around 1914. That was the beginning of the First World War. Germany and the World War I. Germany was a powerful empire in the early years of the 28th century, that is, 1900s. It fought the First World War along with Austria against the Allies, that is, England, France, and Russia. The war went on for 4 years, all the way from 1914 to 1918, and this drained Europe of all the resources it had, turning them from creditors into debtors. Germany won the first part of the war by occupying France and Belgium, but however, when the USA joined the war, it won, defeating Germany. And the defeat of the empire meant the abdication of the emperor and ultimately the end of the monarchy, which gave rise to a new democracy. Now, the birth of the democracy. The parliamentary parties had a chance once the monarch was abdicated. Well, they formed a national assembly and they met at a place called Weimar and formed a democratic federal republic called the Weimar Republic. Well, we all know what a democracy is, right? It's a form of government where people have the most power. And federal government is like the vertical division of powers, like in India, for example. Well, then came the Reichstag, the German parliament. It was voted by the universal adult franchise, which means all adults could vote, even including women. Now, the peace treaty. Well, there was a Versailles peace treaty once the war got over, and Germany was overly blamed for it. Because of this, Germany lost its overseas colonies, 10th of its population, 13% of its territories, 26% of its coal, 75% of its iron. It was demilitarized, all the weapons were taken away from it. The War Guild Clause blamed Germany for all the destruction, and it had to pay a compensation of £6 billion for this. Rhineland and Ruhr were also occupied. Now, the Weimar Republic was just formed. It was an infant. But nevertheless, it had to deal with all the price that it had to face because of the sins committed by the past monarchical rule. People blamed the Weimar Republic. It was not received well by its own people because it was forced to accept defeat at the end of the World War I. They were mocked as November criminals. And media, however, glorified trench life in the society, but it was miserable. The Republic was also politically unstable. Soldiers were given more important than civilians. National honor and pride and aggressive nature took more place in the hearts of the people that were humiliated. They preferred dictatorships than democracies. Now, democracy was indeed a young and fragile idea that couldn't survive in Germany during that time. The political atmosphere in Berlin demanded Soviet-style governance. Well, that's another big story. We'll deal sometime later. There were others like socialists, Democrats, and Catholics. There were uprisings in Germany. However, they were crushed by the Weimar Republic using the Free Corps, which were war veteran organizations. The years between 1924 and 1928 saw some stability, yet this was built on sand, which means it wouldn't last long. USA was supporting Germany till now with the Davis Plan. Well, Germany fought wars using loans and it had to pay back in gold, thereby depleting all the gold resources. Germany wasn't in a good situation and it couldn't pay, so USA supported. However, the USA's support was withdrawn due to the Wall Street Exchange crash in 1929. This was the beginning of the Great Economic Depression. Obviously, since Germany was dependent on America during that time, they were worst hit by the economic crisis. Workers lost jobs, unemployment was everywhere, people wore placards saying willing to do any work, jobs disappeared, youth simply took criminal activities, they needed food to live, right? Or some people sat around the corners, chatted, and played cards. As you can see, it also led to hyperinflation. The government did not know what to do. It just printed currency notes recklessly, which decreased the value of the German currency, the euros, to a very low level. Thus, to buy a single loaf of bread, people had to take carts and carts of currency notes, as you can see in the picture. Germany's situation was not at all very good. This is all about the First World War and the birth of the Weimar Republic. We will be discussing Hitler's rise to power in the next part of the same topic. And I hope you liked the video. I hope you learned something new today. Please like, share, and subscribe, and do comment below.